and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show. It covers a little bit of everything, from the New York Football Giants to the New York Baseball Mets, movie reviews, TV show recaps and reactions, and a whole bunch of life stories with life lessons that'll make you go, Hosted by a Giant Mess, that's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. I'm an Irish-Italian-American who graduated from a Catholic high school but isn't Catholic. Then I earned a couple of overpriced degrees from an overpriced university that's known for producing doctors and lacrosse players. And spoiler alert, I didn't become either of those things. You can leave a voicemail, 862-248-1986. You can also subscribe to Giant Mess on YouTube, youtube.com/realcinch, Neal Lynch, or Giant Mess. One of those three should work. Go to the blog, neallynch.com. And I'm on the socials, dude. Real Cinch on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook.com/Giant Mess. And make sure you subscribe to this here pod on Apple, Spotify, or my new fave, Amazon Music. On this episode of Giant Mess, New York Mets, a lot of rumors circulating, a lot of speculation about free agency and trades. What do I think about the potential Rafael Devers trade that's been floating around? Interesting. Mets have been in contact with the Tampa Bay Rays about pitching? Oh no. Well, get my thoughts on that. We'll also review MLBTradeRumors.com released their predictions for free agents, top 50 free agents, I believe. And there's a bunch of targets on there, both Mets that are now free agents and free agents that could be Mets. So we'll look at their predictions and see what I like, what I don't like, what I agree with, what I don't agree with. And then there's a few arms for the Mets bullpen that could help to pave the way for our world-renowned, newly re-signed Edwin Diaz. Let's talk about the club picking up the option on Daniel Vogelbach, re-signing Carlos Carrasco, Chris Bassitt declining his qualifying offer, Taijuan Walker declining his option. A lot of movement, a lot of activity on the hot stove. It's warming up, y'all. Let's talk Mets. The hot stove is heating up. He's heating up. Very hot right now. A lot of proposals being thrown around. First one of which we'll talk about is a Rafael Devers trade. The Red Sox offered Devers a contract slightly above the 10-year, $212 million deal that Austin Riley got from the Braves. But Devers is seeking more than $300 million in an extension. Cohen has said before, he's not going to spend like a drunken sailor. He's going to take calculated risks. Francisco Lindor, the trade and signing was his big splurge. He's not going to big splurge all over the place, for every player, but he felt like that was the best investment at shortstop. He somewhat similar situation with Max Scherzer, much more shorter term. But the highest AAV of all time, I think, $40-some-odd million a year, which now DeGrom is looking for. So he's got a lot in the air. Just re-signed Edwin Diaz, 5 years, $102 million. So you invested a lot there. You're gonna try and keep Nimmo, I believe. There's like rumors now that he might go to the Yankees, which I just cannot see for the life of me. It's like, well, maybe on the front of like he won't grow facial hair. Like that's where I see him being a fit with the Yankees. But other than that, it's like, the Yankees, dude? I just don't see it. So, but he's going to be in that 5-year, $115-20 million range. I mean, there's only so much money to go around. And you have a third baseman who is adequate, slightly above average, in Eduardo Escobar. But Devers is like what, mid-20s, 24, 25? Is this your Francisco Lindor signing 2.0? So you say, you know what? We believe in Devers. We think he's the future. That locking up that side of the infield for several years, 10 years, several years, 7 to 10 years would be phenomenal. Would be great. And so in that respect, I think. But you have a lot of contracts coming up. It's like I think we're already exceeding the luxury tax, which has its consequences. So do we really just want to go way past, blow past the luxury tax, and then you really hamper our chances of signing some of the homegrown stars? Alonso, you got to think about him coming down the pike. McNeil, maybe not so much. I know he just won the Silver Slugger, but is that someone that you're going to pour a lot of money into, knowing that He is older than Devers. You lose Nimmo, maybe you sign Conforto. There's still Judges in the mix, and Rodon, and there's a lot of big names with big price tags attached to it. The sense I get from Cohen and Epler is they like, well, Epler specifically and Buck, they kind of like the roster that they have. And so I don't know that they want to make that big a splash. So if they do make any moves in this offseason, it does feel like maybe it's just Devers and that's that. Because I don't see them going, oh, we're going to trade for Devers and then we're going to sign Judge and keep Nimmo. Like, what? I know he's rich, but like, I can't fathom that. That being said, though, it's like a would you rather. Would you rather trade for and sign Devers to an extension, $300 million over 10 years? I guess it is now. 10 years, which would put him at age like what, 34, 35, I think, by the time it's all done. Same with Lindor, though. He's going to be in his mid to late 30s when that contract's up. So it's like you're signing him to these 10-year contracts knowing that the first 5 are probably where you need to get things done. You need to bring in a couple chips because those last 5 are going to be pretty brutal. So it's like, do you want to have multiple guys on your roster where the second half of the contract is going to suck? Do you really want that? I don't know. I mean, those first 5 years, that will be freaking electric. So I'm kind of talking myself into the deal, but I don't know all the necessary financials. It just, on the surface level, not seeing their books, it just feels like they already did that with Lindor. They can't do it again with Devers. But if they could, ooh. So like maybe it's a case of you package Escobar and a few prospects, and yeah, so it's gonna be costly, but is it worth it? Kind of think it is. We've also been in talks with the Rays. The Rays were, I guess the deadline was yesterday, the 15th, and they were trying to complete several trades. I didn't see much in terms of trades from them. Teams must add players to their 40-man rosters before that deadline if they want to protect players who would otherwise be eligible for selection in the Rule 5 draft. So obviously they must have had a bunch of players that they wanted to, they didn't want to lose in the Rule 5 draft. So that would explain why they would want to get rid of them. But I didn't see that. The draft takes place on December 7th, but I didn't see many moves out of them. Maybe I missed something, but there was some talk about maybe Tyler Glasnow, that being of interest to the Mets. And then they had a couple of younger arms in the bullpen relievers that would have been nice, but I don't think probably a smart move. As I mentioned, we re-signed Edwin Diaz, 5 years, $102 million. In my opinion, worth it. He was the best closer in baseball last year, and minus some bumps in the road, and they were some pretty big ass bumps. He was looking like a pretty locked down closer for most of his tenure. 2019 was obviously rough. We basically missed the playoffs because he blew a bunch of saves and leads. 2020 is kind of like a mirage in a lot of ways, like, what was it? I saw someone, was it Jolly Olive or Jack Olive, whatever, put up a graphic about how Dom Smith having like the franchise's highest whatever in 2020. It's like, what was 2020, dude? It's like 60 games. It's like a third of the season. So, how many times have you seen a guy ball out for like a third of the season and then just like disappear for the other 2/3? So I don't think there was supposed to be like an option on Smith or something, and I don't think it was picked up. So it looks like Dom Smith's days are over with the Mets. And I know that upsets a lot of people, and I'm upset. I'm not heartbroken, though. I mean, like, he had flashes here and there. And would I love for him to be a lifelong Met where he contributes and has big hits? I think a lot of us thought that after the 2020 season. There were like comps to Barry Bonds, for crying out loud. It was just like, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So, it sucks, but, I just think we have too many other options. How much runway and leash are you going to give a guy, basically? I mean, he's been in this system since 2017, I want to say. So it's kind of like, we picked up the option on Vogelbach, which I think a lot of people are agreeing with. They like that move, and I like it. I think even if he is not your starting DH, it's a great bat to have off the bench, and it doesn't cost you that much. It's just interesting to me, and I think I've said this in a previous episode, that's just like the guy can garner and generate a lot of walks and base on balls, but it's like, that's not what we want. It's like, it's great that you get on base, but now we have to like pinch hit for you or pinch run for you, or you are for sure like not going to be able to score on a ball of the gap. It's like, that's tough. So it's like, would like to see more slugging, if possible. The walks are good, but like when the majority of your on base is generated by walks, it's like, so I'd love to see them, I've said this, I'd love to see them complement that left-handed DH bat with a right-handed DH bat. And I guess that's what Darren Ruff was supposed to be, but I don't know that you can roll with Ruff again this year after what happened last year. That being said, I think when we acquired Jay Bruce in 2016 down the stretch, he like shit the bed. I don't think he was producing that well. But then 2017, he turned it around and put up a pretty decent year. Re-signed Carlos Carrasco. I don't know that I necessarily agree with this, but there were some numbers floating around about Carrasco, some advanced stats, and I was like, all right. Well, I guess he is upper echelon when it comes to pitching, but still not crazy about, the average length of start. It's still, to me, it's like, I don't think that's going to get better, So, but I've also seen and heard that that's like kind of the status quo for the Major League Baseball this day. It's like, if you can get to the fifth inning, great, that you're doing your job. Whereas, before it was like, if you can't get out of the fifth, like you're not a starter. Now we're leaning towards, oh, well, just give us 4, get us into the fifth, and we'll take it from there. It's like, okay, if that's the case, then great. We claimed Taylor Saucedo, a 29-year-old left-hander from the Blue Jays. He held left-handed hitters to a 182 average in 33 appearances over the last 2 seasons. Hell yeah. He spent some time in AAA with Buffalo, recorded a 2.37 ERA and a 13.3 K per 9 ratio in 20 games, striking out 28, 8 and 19, and decent numbers in the minors across 7 seasons, 38 and 28, 4.19 ERA. I'm all for lefties. I think people were a little disappointed in Joely Rodriguez this year. So I think it would be nice to get a lefty in the starting lineup and a starting rotation. And it would be nice to get a lefty, the bullpen that we can rely on. So is that going to be like a major addition? No, it's like a nice to have. Like if he is able to prove himself in the minors and come up, like I think that would be nice, especially down the stretch. There's some talk that we're looking at Kodai Senga, Japanese pitcher who spent 11 seasons in, I don't understand Japanese baseball. Like there's 2 leagues. There's a Western League and a Pacific League. Apparently those are different or something. But over his 11 season career playing Japanese baseball, 104 and 51, 2.42 ERA, 11 complete games, 5 shutouts. He has a whip of almost 1.1, gives up 0.6 home runs per 9, 3.4 walks per 9, 10 strikeouts per 9. So he's like almost 3 strikeouts to a walk. Can't argue with those numbers. So I don't envision him being like, I think it's probably, if they don't re-sign Walker, maybe he's like a 5th starter that could be come in and do his job. So I'm not like head over heels in love with that, because I don't know that there have been too many players from the Japanese league that come over and dominate. Suzuki, obviously. Suzuki. Oh my God. My brain not working. But plenty of guys that have done well, but I've always been, and I've said this dating back to like when I was co-host on the Tri-State Sports Guys, like there's something about the hype surrounding Japanese players that just rubs me the wrong way. Because it's like, I think Matsui was another one for the Mets where it was like, this is our starting second baseman for the next 10 years. And then like he fizzled out in year 2 or something like that. Had an anal fissure. Yeah, I'm a little bitter. But and then this is the one that I think is gonna hurt a fair amount of the fan base. I don't know that I'm that incredibly hurt by it, but it's odds are Seth Lugo is probably not returning. And like I said in a previous episode, like I don't know that I'm that torn up about it. I think that he's just lost something. I just don't think he's quite where he was in previous seasons, where he was almost locked down, shut down, more dependable. I think there were a bunch of games this year and even last year where it was like you fully expected him to come in and get a 1-2-3 or at least come out of it unscathed, and he's given up a run. And it's like, it's not that detrimental. We end up winning the game because we had a 2-run lead, but it was like a little dicey when he came in. It was not, my confidence level dipped a fair amount over the past 2 seasons. So, good luck. I think he wants to be a starter, and maybe he goes on and he becomes a starter, a good starter. an all-star starter. That just would be the way, wouldn't it? That's the LOL Mets. Like, that's just such a Mets thing to happen for him to go and do that. I mean, you look at like Rafael Montero, couldn't keep it together with the Mets, struggled almost everywhere he went, and then goes to Astros, and I was like a lockdown reliever. I don't know. So that's some of the trade rumors that are going around, some of the free agency news that's bubbling up. MLBTradeRumors.com had some free agency predictions. I don't even know how old this article is, but I thought I'd run through that and just look at what they are thinking and then give my thoughts. They have Carlos Rodon to the Mets, which I like a lot. 5 years, $150 million. Yes, he had some shoulder issues in the past. Signed a fairly safe short-term deal with the Giants, I believe, and proved his worth. I think he's only 29, 30 years old. I'm obsessed with getting a left-handed starter. I just feels right. It looks like, and I know this is stupid, but you look at like the 2000 Mets, you look at the 2015 Mets, they had a lefty starter in the rotation. So I think that's the key to success, as dumb a thought as that is. I'd love to have him. I think that's definitely worth it. They had DeGrom going to the Rangers, which I don't get. I just don't get it. And if he does sign with the Rangers, it was like, I don't know. What are you doing? Like, we're so close, dude. We're so close to winning a World Series. We're so close to, I mean, I've said this before, but like, we win a World Series with you in a Mets uniform, you're set for life, dude, in terms of like this area. You are a legend. I mean, he already is a legend, but like, it's just going to be soured when you go to the Rangers. Can you imagine if he goes to the Rangers and wins a World Series? Ugh. So I think that sucks. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's like, I could understand if it was still the Wilpons and the owners and Brody is still the GM and, some retread reject is our manager. But it's like, you have Buck Showalter, who just won Manager of the Year, which I already thought he won Manager of the Year. That's how foregone conclusion it was for me. I guess he was nominated, and I didn't see nominated. I was just like, oh yeah, he won. I just took it for granted. And so he wins the National League Manager of the Year. So you have the National League Manager of the Year. You have Scherzer, that is like your cohort, your buddy. You can bounce ideas off of, talk shop. I don't get it. I mean, his legacy's tainted, isn't it? As far as his Mets legacy, I mean, it's hard to argue with his Mets legacy. I think even if he does go to the Rangers, he probably still gets his number retired and gets in the Mets Hall of Fame and Ring of Honor or whatever. But it's just like, you stay with us, you sign, you win a World Series, you're getting the works, dude. A to Z, soup to nuts. Like, you're getting the statue, you're getting, like a pavilion, a street named after you. Like, you're getting the Tom Seaver treatment times 10 while you're alive. Because I feel like we kind of, why did it take us so long to acknowledge and recognize Seaver? Well, it was weird. They have Nimmo going back to the Mets, or at least most of them. There was like 4 different prognosticators, and I think most of them had Nimmo going back to the Mets, 5 years, $110 million, which I'm all for. I think the only concern with him, previously it was his defense and his health, and now it's like, we've seen he can play defense. Like, he's upped his game there. So it's mostly just a health issue. Can he stay healthy? And I think, you get him a 5-year, $110 million contract, he's going to figure it out. Chris Bassitt declined the qualifying offer of 1 year, $19.65 million. And these folks at MLBTradeRumors.com believe that he's going to go to the Twins, Dodgers, or Rangers. If the frickin' Rangers get DeGrom and Bassitt, ew, dude. They project his salary to be at least $60 million over 3 years. Since the start of 2019, he's thrown 546 innings with a 3.31 ERA, 23.1% strikeout rate, 6.7% walk rate, and 44.3% ground ball rate. His 9.3 WAR in that time is 32nd among all pitchers in baseball. Those stats are great. Just something about him. It's just like, I guess he was, realistically, him and Taijuan were the two most dependable pitchers in our rotation. I did think he got into his fair share of jams. So, I mean, I could go either way on this. I don't think it's a huge loss if he goes sign somewhere else. I think it's cool if he signs back with us, but it's got a sour taste in my mouth after the last month. Walker, speaking of Taijuan Walker, he declined the player option. The folks at MLB Trade Rumors think he's going to sign with the Padres, Orioles, or Giants, and not the Mets. Really hope he doesn't go to the Padres or the Giants. Have fun in Baltimore. I love Baltimore, my second city, my second home. So, yeah, that'd be cool with them going to Baltimore. And again, it goes back to average length per start, which not great, but apparently that's acceptable nowadays. So the standard, not the deviation, is that what they say? So his starts are, it's like good, horrible, good. So although there was a weird stat that they threw out, and I don't think I have it here, but like he's actually better his third time through the lineup. It's like his second time stinks. It's either his first or his second time through the lineup stinks. I think with Carrasco, it's his first time around through the lineup. And then with Walker, it's typically like his second time through the lineup. He's not great. But then his third time through the lineup, which is typically in that 5th to 6th inning range, he's like awesome. I just don't, the volatility, not great for my mental health. Like, can we just have consistency 1 through 3 times in the lineup? And then this one is intriguing to me. I wouldn't hate it. I don't think I love it, but I wouldn't hate it. Andrew Heaney, 3 years, $42 million. A pair of shoulder injuries limited Heaney to 72 2/3 innings, but he notched a 3.1 ERA. Still a little homer prone, but he struck out almost 36% of his opponents. And a very low walk rate, 6.1%. 16.8% swinging strike rate is number 1 among 188 Major League Baseball pitchers who tossed at least 70 innings in 2022. I mean, again, I believe this is a lefty. Love to have a lefty in the rotation. Would be fantastic. The shoulder injuries, definitely concerning. It's like, who doesn't have a shoulder injury nowadays? It just feels like that's got to happen. So if you miss on Carlos Rodon, I think Andrew Heaney would be a nice little safety valve, last resort. Nathan Eovaldi, 2 years, $34 million. Over the past 3 seasons, he's given the Red Sox 340 innings of 3.79 ERA with a almost 25% strikeout rate, a 4.4% walk rate, and a 45% ground ball rate. Since opening day 2020, there are 149 pitchers who've thrown at least 150 innings as a starter. Clayton Kershaw is the only one who's issued walks at a lower rate than Eovaldi. And he did receive a qualifying offer from the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are it's believed they're going to offer him a multi-year deal. So odds are probably not going to be available. But if he is, that'd be, say Bassitt walks, sign somewhere else. Maybe Eovaldi is your Bassitt replacement. Completely out on Rafael Montero. No thanks. I don't know that that's enough. What he's done, I don't know that's enough for me to bring him back and be like, oh, you're a changed man. Come on back. I think it's too volatile, what I've seen out of him. So good luck, Godspeed. Good for you. Like, I'm glad that you're able to, bounce back and have a degree of success. This is another interesting one. Jose Quintana, 2 years, $24 million. Doesn't work. Now, this is where the hypocritical Neal comes out in full force. Quintana doesn't work, especially deep into games, averaging a hair above 5 frames per start, which is like right in line with my major gripes about Taijuan Walker and Carlos Carrasco. He also doesn't throw especially hard, but only walked less than 7% of opponents. He had a below average strikeout rate, and he's going to be 34. Right? So right there, not a great sales pitch, but to me, a pretty decent fill-in. I put him in that kind of Eovaldi tier where it's like, if Bassitt and Walker go somewhere else and DeGrom goes somewhere else and we're in need of we need arms, then it's like, okay, let's just sign Quintana, Eovaldi. And do we bring back Michael Wacha? 6% walk rate. They're projecting 2 years, $16 million. He induces grounders at a below average rate, doesn't throw hard, prone to home runs, missed time with shoulder troubles, and he has a very high strand rate, which again gives me Bassitt vibes. I think Bassitt, I don't have the numbers to support this, so you can call BS from here to Kingdom Come. But I feel like Bassitt also had a high strand rate. Like he would load the bases and then get out of the jam. So I would probably opt towards like, to me, Waka is like the absolute last resort. It's like we missed on everyone. And then it's like, well, let's bring Waka back and see what he can do. Maybe 2020 was just an illusion, a fluke. A lot of people saying that we should go after David Robertson, MLBTradeRumors.com in particular. 2 years, $16 million. He'll be 38 when the season opens. He has a very high walk rate, but pretty decent swinging strike rate. Strikeout rate was just shy of his peaks in 2014, 2017. We got Diaz as our closer. Robertson could be like the alternate closer when Diaz needs an off day. Robertson is probably the great preeminent setup guy. The age scares me a little bit. The price tag does not scare me. So again, I don't know that it doesn't look from what I've read like there's a ton of reliever options that are going to jump out at you. So it's like, I'm not going to get super pissed if they decide to sign Robertson. Again, I know it goes against what I've been saying, which is like, I don't want to bring in older talent that's like right at the dusk sunset of their career, riding off in the sunset, the golden years. I'm not a huge fan of bringing in multiple players of that age, but I guess it is somewhat win now, right? Somewhat, because like you only have Scherzer for so long. Who knows how long you have a few of these other players that we have on like 2 or 3 year deals. So it's like, if you want to get it done, I guess Robertson is a relatively inexpensive route to go. I mean, it's like, I know if you listen to a previous episode, you'd say, well, you were out on Verlander, who's like put up unbelievable numbers this year, sub 2 ERA, but because he's 30 some odd 8 years old, you don't want to give him, well, yeah, because his contract is going to be prohibitive for us making moves elsewhere, I think, and you're only getting him for a year or two. So, but I guess the theory there is like you only really pursue Verlander if DeGrom is gone. I guess it's a good 1-to-1 replacement. With Robertson, in that bullpen that we have right now, I don't hate it. And then, so we're getting into Conforto. We mentioned this before. Conforto feels like a security blanket. MLB Trade Rumors has him going to the Red Sox, Rangers, or Reds on a 1-year deal worth $15 million. And, he had that shoulder injury that he sustained during the lockout, which required surgery and wiped out his entire 22 year. That feels like, if Nimmo goes, Conforto is got to be at the top of our list. And if we don't get Judge. So I've been saying it's day one. It'll be great to have him back. It'd be great to see him, any guys that we have from the 2015 season. So I think it's pretty much just DeGrom and Conforto, right? I don't know that we have any other people from that season, but it would be nice to have them both come back into the mix and win that World Series. But we'll see. Adam Ottavino, 2 years, $14 million. None of the 4 predictors from MLBTradeRumors.com have him going back to the Mets. Phillies, Braves, Giants, Red Sox. Have fun with the Red Sox. I cannot have you go into the Phillies, Braves, or Giants. 2.06 ERA with a resurgent 30.6% strikeout rate, career best 66.2% walk rate, and almost a 52% ground ball rate. That's his best rate since 2016. I think this is recency bias. Just like seeing him struggle so much against the Padres in that wild card game, it was just like, we got the win, but it was like, you don't have to make it interesting like that, dude. Let's put them away. Let's bury their ace. This is another situation where it's like, is he still gonna give us another year like that? I just don't think he's gonna give us another year like that. Another 2 years like that. I think you are probably going to start to see him decline. But then again, you sign Ottavino and Robertson? That piques my interest, because it's like, there's no way both of them fail, right? No way both of them are busts. So I think that's intriguing. Again, if we don't sign either of those guys, I'm not going to be like, oh man, what the hell? But the prospect of both of them, I like that more than I do one over the other. I don't know why. Chris Martin, 2 years, $14 million. Only one of the 4 predictors had him going to the Mets. but he's a 6'8" right-hander. Walked just 2.8% of the 865 batters he's faced, but he will turn 37 next June. So it's like another aging arm, which I'm not crazy about. In other news, we hired Jeff Albert as a director of hitting. He was a former Astros and Cardinals coach, spent 4 years as Houston's minor league hitting coordinator. And then as the assistant hitting coach, 2 stints with the Cardinals, minor league hitting coach, and then major league team for 4 years. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a director of hitting. I don't even know what to think about this. Like, is this an indictment of Eric Chavez? Or is it just like Chavez is like, you know what would be great if we brought this guy in? I don't know. That's just intriguing to me. But considering the teams he's worked for, you could do worse. Astros and the Cardinals, 2 of the best offenses in the league, perennial playoff contenders. So it'd be interesting to see what he brings to the table. And then we'll finish with this: the 3 free agent relievers that are musts for Buck Showalter's bullpen. Number 1 is, and this is from Rising Apple, Andrew Chapin. He opted out of his contract for 23. He'll be age 33 for this season. He's a lifetime ERA of 3.23. All right. Okay. I think I like that option better than I do Ottavino or Robertson. And then speaking of Ottavino, that was the number 2 reliever on this list. He's 6-3, 2.06 ERA, over 65 and 2/3 innings of work. I mean, yeah, he was great last year. But I don't think it's a must. It's a nice to have. But I mean, given the market, I don't know if there's a great market for relievers right now in the bullpen. So I don't know if we lose someone like Ottavino. I don't know that there's many guys of that same ilk to replace him. So maybe he is a must. It's got me thinking now. Got my brain all juiced up. And then this is an interesting one. Michael Fulmer. He was involved in the Yoenis Cespedes trade where the Mets sent him off to the Twins or A's. I think it was the A's. Or no, where was Cespedes at the time? Boston? Who did we get Cespedes from? It was the A's or the Red Sox? Might have been the Red Sox. Anyway, he was involved in that trade back in 2015. He won the American League Rookie of the Year in 2016, All-Star in 2017, and then he moved to the bullpen, was traded to the Twins. In 120 plus innings as a reliever, he was 9-10 with a 2.98 ERA. That would be a nice little story. As much as I am against bringing back Montero, I think I'm on board with bringing back Fulmer. So that's that. And that's the Mets. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, for paying me some attention. I'm attention starved, right? I'm an egomaniac, and your attention fuels me and takes me to the next level. It's what makes me get up in the morning. What drives me throughout the day is your attention. All right, Jesus Christ. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week. Adios, muchachos.